see you.
Scott, good to see you, brother.
Good to see you.
We've done this a bunch of times, which I love. The fact that we're doing it again.
But you've never looked so svelte.
Somebody said that today. I'm like, they probably, their eyes weren't as good before. No, but thank you for saying that, Scott. Hey, Scott, talk to me about, being down here in San Diego. Does it bring back a lot of memories of just starting out here and doing music, growing up?
I didn't grow up here. I think we've talked about this a few times. I went to high school in Huntington Beach and then moved to Los Angeles after a couple of years of college. Took a break, my parents allowed it, and then we got signed. But I did end up moving down to Coronado for 3 years, and that was really cool. Nobody knew who I was. I could walk around aimlessly and go to the ice cream shop, and I don't think any of the admirals, followed STP.
So talk about those early days of Mighty Joe Young before you got signed.
It was great because Dean still lived down here, and so he would book gigs at Bodie's, right, usually, and then, I would book the gigs up in Hollywood. So we were able to, be a true Southern California band as opposed to being just one city identified.
Amazing. That I didn't realize. After I read the book, I did Not For Sale, which was great. Remember, we did the thing at Union Square together, which was very cool.
Yeah.
So tell me about the guys here, how you met. You've known them, you've been friends with them for a long time, right? You know all these guys.
I've known these guys for a really long time. When we started writing and recording songs for the last actual solo album, which was an extension of 12 Bar Blues, kind of an artistic sort of adventure, and then we went to Steve Albini's to record half the album, and I started realizing that some of the guys in this group had a very similar taste in music that I had, and so we went out and played Happy in Galoshes as a 5-piece. But when it came down to thinking about how we wanted to make a record, what we wanted to sound like, we decided we wanted to have a 4-piece and not a 5-piece, because space lives between the notes and beats. And we didn't want much clutter. We wanted a very indie garage, furry sounding rock and roll record.
Yeah, tell me about, why don't you introduce everybody to the band right now? That's cool.
This is Blackie. Mr. Brown. And Danny Green.
Hey guys, could you have microphones as well? Just tell us how you originally met Scott. I'm sure you're fans of his music. What was your first encounter with Scott? Starting with you, Blackie.
Let's see. Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
Leave the microphone there.
The band called Palo Alto.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Hey, I was in the band. You guys were an American. I remember.
Hello. 1, 2. I was in a band called Palo Alto that opened for Scott, and so that's kind of how we encountered each other first.
Yeah. It was just Jedi mind tricks back and forth.
Mr. Brown.
We met Scott, let's see, I guess the Happy video, right?
Yeah.
Met me around that time, which was during that time we were recording songs at Albini's. So I came in then, and we did a few songs there, and then just ever since then, kind of off and on. I guess it's through Rocco.
Rocco, who is an engineer and a co-manager of Lavish Studios. He was my assistant at the time, and he made the introduction. And Jeremy is. There are very few genetically engineered superior guitar players that look the part, the part, feel the part, love the music, where their guitar is an extension of their body. And Jeremy is one of those special individuals.
That's really cool. Now there's
I was actually
Danny is the best drummer that I've ever played with.
too kind. I was actually working as a waitress in a cocktail bar.
I was working as a waitress in a
I kid.
Irish sing-off for done you want. Too late time. You know.
At the time, Scott was working with Doug Rion. He was his partner for a while, and called me to do a session.
Yeah.
And then like a week later, I got a random call because Scott was doing, what was it? Man I Didn't Know. It was kind of a country type of ballad that I think he ended up writing for your dad, but, and then I got a call and we did the Carson Daly Show like a week later. So that was the introduction to Scott.
That's good.
Ever since we've been dancing.
Scott, you said that you guys love the same music. I mean, I know what a big Bowie fan you are. You know, Roxy, T-Rex, and things like that. What were the things you bonded over? Were there
I mean,
conversations?
if you listen to T-Rex, I mean, you know, you go to Love and Rockets, and that era of post-punk, late 80s music, like Pixies and all Jesus, Mary Chain, the whole thing, you know, Echo and the Bunnymen, it's like, it all is engraved in us, as well as the greats, the classics who we always listen to, you know.
Bowie's and Zeppelin's.
Bowie, Zeppelin, Stones, Beatles, you know, not necessarily in that order, but yeah.
Are you guys doing any covers together? Have you picked any covers? Because you've done some great ones.
Yeah,
Andy
we've
Warhol.
done quite a few over the years. Lately, we've been doing Genie.
Libertines song, we do Libertines.
Yeah, we've done Can't Stand Me Now.
Libertines, wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, there's a lot of covers we've done. I enjoy playing covers. I actually put out a covers album that was just available over the web, the World Wide Web. Are you familiar with that?
I just learned about it recently, to be honest with you.
So did I.
Now I've realized they're calling it the internet, so it was originally World Wide Web, right, guys?
Internets.
Scott, you've been feeling good, though. You look good. You look
I
great.
feel great.
That's what everybody always says. I was explaining to people because I've had my struggles as well, which is no secret to anyone, and I wouldn't even try to keep it secret because that's part of just life in general, things that you go through. But you've been doing great otherwise.
Yeah, you know, that big relationship with that shit they like put on the road to pave roads with. It's been 13 years, and I just it's a whole other lifetime. It's hard to even remember what things were like at that time. Actually,
Feels like a different life altogether.
yeah, it is completely different life.
Which is incredible. It's great. So talk about the making of the record. Who's producing it, and how far along are you with it right now?
Well, we're halfway through. We have 6 songs. The goal is to record 16, put 12 on the album, and we're doing deals sort of differently. We're doing them, you know, territory by territory, country by country, and because you think that and it's all funneled through Soft Drive, you know, my label. But if you do, like in the 90s, we were signed to Atlantic. They just licensed out to Warner Music in Europe, and where do they have a vested interest in that? I mean, the world has changed completely in our business. It doesn't matter which part of the business that you're in, it's changed, and you have to have a really incredibly bright and forward-thinking manager manager, which we're lucky to have.
Yeah.
Lucas, bro.
Lucas Keller. So, you know, it's a whole new way of going about things, and I've had to, you know, learn things very quickly, which is cool. I enjoy being challenged, and but it's good. I mean, we listen to the songs back to back, and it is the most fulfilling artistically and just as a human being making this album. More so than any album since Core, it's very similar to that feeling of making Core. That excitement.
So speaking of which, what's the last time you've had contact with the other guys from STP, and how's that thing done playing out? I know it's been, you know, it's been very public. Obviously, this
No public, no answer to the question.
All right, you got it, Scott. You know, your book is so revealing, and it's not that not for sale. I was really, you know, honored to sit there with you. There were 500 people in the audience at Union Square's Barnes & Noble, and we talked about the book. And you address so many things in your life, which are pretty amazing. Like, you really get down to the core of it. And
well, after doing so many interviews, and most of the ones that are, you know, in magazine, like print interviews, after you say your piece, there's, you know, the editor that can take parts of what you said and leave it out, add other parts, connect, like instead of A to B,
Your own agenda.
C, and I said, you know what, maybe I should just write a book, and that way I can just like lay it out on the line, and that's what it is, you know. It was definitely more challenging than I thought it would, and I probably wouldn't write another book unless it was like sci-fi, War of the Worlds, or something like that.
yeah, no, I know, it was amazing. Like I said this to you once before, but I remember that story about your one girlfriend who like literally lit your car on fire, and you said, why would you do that to me? She goes, hey, look, I didn't light you on fire. We've all had crazy-ass relationships like that, haven't we? Have you all been through those things?
Well, I don't know about that, but all I can say is that I'm extremely happy to be married to my wonderful wife, Jamie Weiland.
Yeah,
That's the present.
That's a great thing. We were going to talk circles about her. Tell me about this song and the fact that you did the whole like Appalachian thing. I mean, you're yodeling at the end.
Well,
of
it's kind of an ethereal, you know, hillbilly sort of vibe, especially if you listen to the album version. It gets it right. You know, it's West Virginia meets Mars.
Yeah, I like that. It's a couple of really interesting places.
Kind of
Would you all agree? That's really good. Now, who's producing the record? Is it you guys?
That's Rick Parker. Rick Parker is known best for making the two best albums by Black Rebel Motorcycle Club.
Yeah.
Which two? First two? Or more recently? Which one was
No
that?
More albums.
And how
They were
How's
best
that?
friends. They played in a band together.
Yeah.
And how's the one that did, you know, has the Ain't No Easy Way, which is so good.
Yeah.
Really love that song. I love that record because it's really like, it's got that whole little twangy acoustic guitar thing going on, and it drives. It's really
bedside manner when he produces this. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He's got a great individual relationship with everybody, and if he has an idea, he doesn't try to push it on you. He tries to allow you to find that idea yourself.
Which is cool. Now, of all the people that you've worked with in the past, I mean, who you know, I mean, obviously we were working with him. Was it because of the records that he did? Because you love those two?
No, it's actually because of the relationship that Blackie has had with him over the years, and I trust Blackie, and
I kept pushing for it.
therefore I trust Mr. Parker.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how long have you been married now? How long have you and Jamie been married?
We're coming up on our first year in a few days.
Which which is fantastic. What are you going to do to celebrate the anniversary?
Well, that's a surprise, man. You're not my wife.
I know. It's amazing, though. I gotta be honest with you, though, Scott. I'm just so happy for you, man. You guys are together and doing it. And it's great.
Thank you.
So, how much, like, I know you guys are doing shows again, but are you going to take a break and record the rest of the record, or you continue to tour through the whole process?
Hitting the road, come back, record a handful of songs, and hit the road, come back, record a handful of songs. And so the album will be out the first part of November. Yeah, we want a Christmas release. We don't want to put the album out after everyone's spent all their money.
Well, that's all right. It could be a good gift for a lot of people, I think. It would be a great time. Scott, you know, if you had to pick like 5 albums or artists who are your favorite of all time, and we talked about the bands before, but what about albums? Because there's so many things. Like, you've covered great songs. There's influence in all the songs you've written, whether it's like 12 Bar Blues, Happy and Galoshes, Magnificent Bastards, the SP stuff, the stuff you do now with the Wild Abouts. What are like your 5 Desert Island discs, the records you couldn't live without?
The White Album, Meet the Beatles, Abbey Road, Sticky Fingers, Exile on Main Street, Hunky Dory. This Bob Dylan. Yeah, just about it. Time Out of Mind, actually.
It's a great record.
Yeah, 1 Grammy, best album, best producer. Daniel Lanois. I've worked with him.
Yeah, it's great. I remember talking about that record on Charlie Rose. I was on there talking about, that bunch of albums with him, and that was one of the records we talked about that year, which was very cool, so it was good to
The
see.
3 Berlin albums that he did after he sussed himself out, after living with Keith and Lennon and a bunch of other hooligans.
Yeah.
Just packed a bag and...
They were all hooligans at one time or another, as we know, that's for sure.
What is rock and roll?
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be dangerous, it's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be what it is, but, it started out that way. I mean, before Elvis Presley, rock and roll was sung by African-American singers, and there were a bunch of white teenagers going to those gigs, probably lying to their parents saying they were spending the night over Bobby Sue's house or whatever, and they were going to these shows, and that set the precedent, man. That was hardcore. That was punk rock back then.
Are there any of those 50s records that you love, that you think are great, going back?
There's a lot of them. I think Elvis is great, early years. There's a lot of great country that I like from that period.
And what was the good stuff like? Hank Williams?
Yeah, well, Hank Williams a little bit earlier.
40s, yeah, but what 50s stuff?
There's Johnny Cash, definitely. Yeah.
Any others you want to mention?
What was that TV show called?
Yeah.
No, that was the real one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Grand Ole Opry?
That's the Bakersfield sound.
Streets of
It was those guys that dressed Sha-na-na. Yeah. I was a kid, I guys watching it. It's like, rock and roll. Rock and roll, what's this? Rock and roll, and hard rock. I don't know.
Scott, what advice would you give like some of the musicians that are hanging out tonight, starting a band? What would you tell them?
Do as much work yourself as you possibly can. Tour, buy a van, sell everything you have. Buy a van, tour, buy at least a cheap version of Pro Tools so you can start learning how to have those recording, engineering, and production chops because they come in hand. And just promote yourself on the interwebs.
Sounds good. And what would you, talking about that, what were some of the touring, as a band starting out, being on the road, what are some of the hardest parts of that? Some of the big pitfalls of that?
The smell of butt and feet.
Being that close to people, like it's closer to any family member you ever had, right?
Yeah, basically it's like, well, I didn't grow up with, 3 other brothers, but somehow I have 3 other brothers and we share a room.
It's a little roughhousing too.
More, I mean, it's in the van.
Wrestling and
A little
stuff.
wrestling.
Well, all right, so we're excited. The album's coming out. Is there a name for the record yet, or are you just going to call it Scott?
Blaster.
Blaster? That's really cool. Can you tell us about any of the other songs on the album that we didn't hear today, since we heard 3 new ones? Give us a little preview. Talk to us about it.
They all have the same vibe because we wanted the first album to have a certain energy and to like tell the story of where we're at now musically and what inspires us. It's not on your first record you can't like aspire to make Sgt. Pepper's or the White Album, you gotta kind of like stick to the basics and like all be loving what you're doing.
And keep it so that it has a thread, a feel, right?
Yeah.
Which is very cool. Guys, I really
No
want
matter
to...
who's on the email.
Yeah. There you go. Listen, thanks so much, guys, for coming and playing, and I want to tell everybody to come see you tonight. Scott, it's really good to see you. It's about our 15th interview together, right?
I'd say probably about 30.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hear it, everybody. Scott Weiland and the Weiland House. Make sure you go.
Thank you very much.
See the band. Already belly up. Thanks so much. Guys, thanks for coming out tonight and doing this.
Thank you.
Love you, brother. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, folks.